Based on the fact that there's a state budget deficit, how will that affect funding for the towns, and what is the biggest challenge in Hartford?
Well, we don't have the numbers yet, but we all know what's coming, I think, just based on what we're seeing in the news, and everyone is concerned. So clearly, the state, because I think that this crisis is going to continue for 2-3 years down the road. So we certainly don't want to draw it down, and I think prior legislatures made that mistake. But I do think it has to be a part of the solution. I also think that we need to look at Department of Social Services. I sit on the Human Services Committee, and every year we have a surplus of $100 million coming out of DSS. And that's an area that I think that Nancy Wyman, our controller, can look at, and others can look at, and really identify where the savings are there, because I think that DSS has purposefully run those surpluses into the next year for their own reasons. So we need to not allow that. And thirdly, I hear folks talk about, well, we heard hatchets last night, across the board, cuts. Well, I think across the board cuts are fine, and everyone needs to sacrifice. But I think that we have an obligation as legislators to prioritize, to say what is important to us, and to say that in this department it should be 3%, and in this department it should be 1%, and in this department it should be 0.5%. So that would be my approach to any foreseeable deficit.
Yes, there is obviously going to be a deficit. The numbers are really not known yet, and certainly will change over time. We're a little bit more in the hole than we really should be, because had the Democrats' majority gone in and adjusted some of the numbers this last session, we would probably be in a little better space than we are now. So we're a little bit behind the 8 ball because that was not done for the first time historically. In terms of the strategy, I really believe that we have to look at making the cuts that can be made without cutting essential services and human needs, but truly get into a serious dialogue about what the priorities are, where the cuts have to come. Let's seriously look at doing as much of this through cost cutting as possible, attrition through any kind of anything that can go that isn't essential. And then, in terms of the rainy day fund, my concern about using the rainy day fund in year 1 might be that it would be used in combination perhaps with tax increases without going to use this as an opportunity to look at what can be cut, at looking at consolidating certain things and becoming more efficient in Connecticut. Remember, we are losing population overall in our government. We have an $18.7 billion budget. So, we are struggling and strangling this economy because we can't seem to get out there and cut. And I don't mean mercilessly cutting, but I do mean take a hard and fast look at what's working and what's not working. And if it's not, fix it. If it can't be fixed, change it. But really get into a serious dialogue here. I have very big concerns about this state because I look at the mentality, which really is tax and spend. Most of the Democrats, including my opponent, voted for a $1.6 billion tax increase at a time when we were running a surplus. That's this mentality, we can't have enough taxes. Voted for increasing the sales tax on clothing, internet sales, and funerals. Voted against considering alternative no-tax increase budget, against reducing the gas tax, against eliminating the pension tax for seniors. And you see a pattern. Tax and spend, tax and spend. It's over. Can't do that. The state is in trouble. We need to be competitive. We need to have jobs. Our young people need to be able to stay here and live here if they want to. Where's our next generation of workers coming from? And taxpayers coming from? So we need to get real in this state. Times are different. The economy is slow. This is the time to make some decisions about where this state is going. Where do we see? What's the vision of Connecticut? We need to get serious about that.
Thank you.
Melanie says that she likes to do her homework, but I respectfully request that she does a little bit more homework in this area, because the Democratic majority has done a very good job in terms of managing our finances. We actually had an $86 million surplus last year, and Connecticut is in a much better position, having $1.4 billion in our rainy day account than many, many other states. We are not facing the same kind of crisis that other states are facing. And as we go into economic times, I really see my role as being the fighter, the advocate, the person who's going to go up to Hartford and look out for Danbury, Bethel, and Reading. The fact of the matter is that our area of the state has been neglected time and time again. We talked earlier about transportation, and I didn't hear Melanie commit to fighting for transportation dollars in this area. Well, I'm going to fight for transportation dollars in this area because we haven't gotten our just desserts. We need someone to go to Hartford to fight for us. When budget cuts start, who's going to fight for us? Melanie just suggested a tax increase on the property taxpayer right here in Reading and Bethel and Danbury. Why? Because she said she wouldn't tap the rainy day fund. Because she didn't have an answer. She doesn't have an answer for what we're going to do, which means that someone else is going to come in and decide that education dollars are going to be cut, perhaps. Someone else is going to come in and decide that aid to town roads are going to be cut, or that something's going to be cut that affects our area. Well, I see my role as saying, no, this is our history, these are our needs, and this is what we need, and I'm going to fight for the 2nd District. I think that's a fundamental difference that I think that exists between us.
Certainly.
I think that the numbers have to be made apparent before actual decisions are made with